video is to explain how to add the drawing views and dimensions for the pegboard. So you should create a title page, which is the render, which looks like this one. The second page is the exploded view. It has balloons, and the numbers in the balloons link to the parts list. So the shelf is part 1, and here is the shelf here in the parts list. We can add an extra column which explains the material or the dimensions, but the first parts list will just be a simple one like this. We will do the exploded view last. The next page is an isometric view showing the assembly. You can put balloons on this view, but the exploded view helps to show how the parts fit together a little better. The next page is actually sheet 5, so I'm going to skip that one and come back to it. Sheet 4 is an orthogonal view, so this is a third angle orthogonal view, and we know that because there's this little symbol in the title block, and it has a front view, a top view, a right side view, and another parts list. And in this parts list we're editing it to put the material with some information. So what I want you to do for this first task is to pretty much copy the location of the views and the dimensions as I've got them. I would make a small change. This 150 should be a little bit closer to this top view. It's a little bit too far away. We will then do an orthogonal view of the shelf, and again I'd get you to pretty much copy the location of the dimensions. We'll do a detail view, and next, if you have done the mallet, you'll do an isometric view and then copy the third angle orthogonal view for this one. You'll notice that there isn't a drawing view for the side. I'm going to get you to have a go at doing that yourself after you've done these, and you can work out where to put the dimensions yourself. So this is similar to what the drawings are going to look like. So if we go into Inventor, we've got our drawing sheet already set up, and we've added an extra sheet. So if we open this one with the title block and the border and add some new sheets, so add a couple of more sheets, then we've got a few sheets with the border and title block. These ones here are greyed out, which means they're inactive. Sheet 1.6 is the one that is currently active. You can move sheets around, so just by grabbing and clicking with the left button you can actually relocate the sheets, and it's a good idea to rename them. So if I make sheet 1.1 active, oops, click over here, double click, I can click once, wait a moment, and then click again. I can now change that to render, because that is my first page. So click somewhere on the page or press enter, double click to make the next one active, and then we can place a drawing view on here. So the most simple view is putting on the isometric view. So if I click on this view cube, I can modify the angle, and I can change the scale in here. So let's make that half size. If I leave this as it is and go OK, the view is unshaded. Now you can double click on the red border, which brings up the editing menu. I can now select shaded, and you can see that that view is completed. I'll show you at this point how to add in the text since we've skipped past that. So if we expand the ANSI large, which is this title block here, and double click on field text, you can now type in the information here. So at the date, the drawing number, that's this sheet down here, I would add that last of all because we don't know how many sheets we're going to have until we finish. The scale was 1:2, so if I just click in here, 1:2. The title is the name of the file, copy that from my worksheet, and the material, I think we'll say C parts list, and then we can look there. So you can edit that information quite easily. So that's the second sheet. So if we go back to this task, let's have a look at doing the assembly view next. Make the next one active. Then we go to base, and this time we are not going to have it shaded, but this is our front view. If I move my mouse up, there's a little rectangle that is going to locate the top view, so I just click with my left button, and then if I move my mouse across from that front view and click, there is the right side view. Now we want to have the hidden lines on, so we'll select that one, and 1:2 or half size scale is perfect for this size. Once the views are located, you can move them, but what you should note is that this was our first view and the other ones are linked to it. So Inventor calls this first view the parent view, and these are called dependents. So as I move the first view, the other ones move in relation to that very first one. So I cannot move this side view up and down because the height of it is exactly the same whether you look at the view from the front or the side. So I'll just move those views around so that they are located nicely on the page. Now to add dimensions, you use the Annotate tab. Then click on Dimension, and then we will copy the dimension locations from the assignment sheet. But I'll show you a couple of the rules. If you click on this line, or if you hover on this line, a midpoint dot will come up. So try to avoid points unless you are actually dimensioning from a point to another one. So for example, to dimension this line, I simply click on it, drag my mouse to the right, and then click again with my left button to locate where I want the dimension to be. So the 70 is from here to here. The dimension, the 4mm dimension, is to show how deep the little housing joint is. So if I want to do this line, you can see that the line doesn't go the full length of the project, so I could select this point and this point, or I can select this line and this line, drag my mouse out, and then locate so that the dimensions are evenly spaced. To dimension a circle, you click on the circle and it comes out with a diameter, but I don't think from memory that I want you to put that one on there. So you can see this dimension here, the 150, is just showing the length of the shelf. I think it's probably preferable to put the overall length on this drawing. So copy these other little dimensions there just to get the hang of putting those dimensions on. Alright, putting a parts list on is quite simple. In the Annotate tab, you go Parts List, and down the bottom it wants us to select the view. So the view is the very first parent view, and then we'll say OK, and there is the parts list. I'm not going to let it click into the border. I'm just going to click it over here for a second, and we can change the size of some of these columns, and we can make this one bigger to add a bigger description. So you then can relocate. So you move your mouse around until you get that little square icon, and we can put this over in the corner. You can move this view over and down a little bit to make a bit of space. So again, move the mouse until you get that little icon, and then we can change that. To add information into here, we double click, and then you can type the information so that if you copy that from the PDF, you just add in your text and say OK. We can double click in here, for example, and I can tidy up this information. Perhaps get rid of that. That's fine. And OK. Or apply, both will work. So that's a quick example on how to place your views onto the drawing sheet. Show you how to place the shelf. So if I open up that file, I can use the view cube to modify the position, and I want to do a front and a right side view. In this case we want it to be a little bit larger, so 1:1 scale, and these views are black and white. So you can copy the dimensions from the worksheet, but I just want to show you how to do a detail view. So we're in the place views. You select detail view, and down the bottom here there's a little prompt from Inventor, bottom left hand corner. Select the center point of the fence, and the fence is the little shape that we create. So I'm going to click in the middle of the triangle and hold my mouse while I drag it out, and that will capture what's in the circle. Alright, so then click to finish the circle, and then when I move my mouse I can locate that detail view. Now this view is upside down compared to the one I've drawn, so I could flip that around so the triangle is the same, but that is still quite good for what we want. But we can change the scale of this. Let's make it 1:1, and then if we've got this little view down here, we can add information to it to make it easier to dimension. The only point I would make is generally a detail view is drawn larger so that you can add extra information to it. So the scale of 1:1 might be better a little bit larger. But copy what's on the worksheet, copy the information here so that it has the dimensioning on it. So to do that, you would add your dimension from here to here, and that gives the height view. You would then add the angle from this line to this line, and then you can modify, zoom in so that you can fit that in there. You can see the scale's a bit small, so it's not fitting. Alright, see how you go with adding all of the dimensions and information on. Don't forget to save this file as Pegboard so that you don't write over the top of your blank template, and put it in the correct folder. Good luck with it.